Greetings, future millionaires, millionaires, and multimillionaires. I'm Lane Bean, the co-founder of Pilot Legacy Private Equity Group, a 28-year retired lieutenant colonel, and a 20-year real estate investor. Today I want to take a short minute and share with you a flying experience I had. And I'd like to draw parallels and principles from that flying experience and explain how I've taken those principles and values and pulled them into my real estate business to be successful. I served 28 years in the Air Force, and for the most of my career, I flew the F-16. I have 4,500 hours and almost 500 combat hours in the airplane that you see modeled here. In the year 2016, my unit was deployed to Afghanistan to support the U.S. ground forces there and also the Afghanistan government. On this particular day, it was a late afternoon mission, and my aircraft, configured like you see here, and my wingmen were holding pattern waiting for some tasking, and we got an emergency tasking to support some ground forces on the northeastern side of the country of Afghanistan. Now this area is very, very rugged, to the point where you would think maybe the most rugged portions of the Grand Canyon, or a combination of a very mountainous area in Colorado, very deep mountains, very high peaks with deep valleys spread across. And so we made contact with a 6-vehicle U.S. ground team that was moving in a valley, in a very low valley, back to their camp. And this was about 4:30 in the afternoon that we made contact. And they were getting radio, or they were intercepting radio communications from enemy positions in front of them, and they were setting up an ambush that was preventing them from getting to where they were to the base where they needed to go by dark. Dark was about 6:30, or light was going to drop off in about an hour or hour and a half. And so we contacted them, we found where they were, and they let us know the situation and that they had to move forward and they were expecting some type of ambush. Well, as we found their location, we began to circle over them, and it was in a very deep canyon area. And so our pattern had to be extremely tight because of the high terrain. And the weather was getting progressively worse, along with more and more darkness as the sun began to set to the west. And so we continued to fly over them, and the intensity of the enemy communications picked up, indicating that at any point along this, they were going to get ambushed. And so, of course, the tensions, the threat condition was extremely elevated, and we were doing our very best to try to identify where they were. But over a period of circling over them, we had to get progressively lower and lower because of the bad weather above us. Well, that made it extremely difficult to fly because, as you can imagine, a steep canyon with granite peaks extending well into the clouds, and we were circling, my wingman and myself, into this canyon area to try to keep sight of the U.S. team and prevent an ambush. Well, luckily, I believe, because of our presence, because of the noise, and just because of the enemy looking up, seeing aircraft overhead, knocked off their attack. And by the 6:15, or just minutes prior to sunset, I got a great report on the radio, and it was from the ground commander of the lead vehicle, and he said, all vehicles have safely recovered to base. And I was very excited that we had been able to help them get back to base safely without injury or without any type of damage. So that was a good mission, and a lot of really important things to take from that. One of them was this, and let me take these principles out of that flying situation and explain to you the business and how they apply to business. And so those principles, the number one that I got was, you have to understand your role on the team, and you have to be able to accomplish that role the best of your ability. Our role that day was to support the ground forces, and that was our exclusive mission. The other portion of that is clear and effective communications and updates on how your roles are going. Those two principles helped us be successful on that particular mission. And those principles are just as important to success and critical to mission accomplishment in the business realm, regardless of what field you're in. But let me apply them to what we're doing in real estate investing at Pilot Legacy. Well, we're taking those roles, and if you've heard me speak before, I always talk about the importance of team. And when you talk about multifamily, there's so many different elements and components of a multifamily team that are critical to success that you can't take any one or underperform any one and expect the mission to be successful. And so instead of trying to be an expert in every area, then it's important that you hire experts, consult with them well, and then as a team or as an F-16 flight lead, you coordinate those elements together so that one, the team has a clear vision for what they want to do. We want to go from point A to point B successfully with nobody hurt and nobody injured. Okay, that was what it was in the F-16, just as important in business. So the lead has to coordinate those different elements, and each of those elements on the team should be the very best professional and the very best expert that you can find. So teamwork is important, knowing what your role is and knowing what's your responsibility and then doing it to the very best of your ability. And the second principle is effective and clear communication, so that I'm establishing what each role is. I'm laying out expectations for what I need them to do, information they need to provide me, a timeline and schedule that I need that information delivered. And then I'm giving them feedback not only on their results, but on the overall team so that we can continue to move forward. At Pilot Legacy Private Equity Group, those principles are in a daily practice. So what do we do specifically? Well, like I said, multifamily has multiple facets of success: property management, property acquisition, lending, management and operations, repair, and day-to-day leasing. I could go on and on, but each of those areas requires a very fine level of professionalism and excellence. And so we hire the very best we can. We train them to the very best standards. We execute a standard of practice based on industry best practices so that they'll be trained and ready to go. And then as a supervisor or as an operator, there's different levels of chain of command so that those responsibilities are overseen well, managed well, and executed correctly. So we have a good team, and in addition to that, we have clear and effective communication, much like the example that I illustrated in the F-16. That's just some of what we're doing at Pilot Legacy. I think it's an extraordinarily sharp and important element of success. And if you'd like to know more specifically about how we're using that business principle for success, or our previous successes, or our future acquisitions with other investment opportunities for your personal financial objectives, or any other real estate question that you have, please reach out to me. I love talking about the military, flying, and I also have a passion for real estate, and I'll be glad to have a talk with you or discussion about how you can become a better millionaire. If you'd like to contact me, several different ways. Pilot-legacy.com is our website. Pilot Legacy Private Equity Group on Facebook, or you can email me direct, lane.bean@pilot-legacy.com. Thanks for listening today, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your real estate goals so you can become a better millionaire.